Hey guys! Tonight we drift into the murky, hushed world of medieval assassins, those fleeting shadows who crept through misty alleys and creaky castle corridors, their lives more wretched than romantic. Picture yourself in a damp, moonlit street, the air heavy with the scent of wet straw and old leather, a dull blade tucked beneath your tattered cloak, the night still, save for the distant hoot of an owl, and every rustle makes your pulse skip. You're no dashing movie rogue with gadgets and swagger. You're a medieval assassin. And here's the kicker, you're probably not making it out alive. This isn't a thrill ride, it's a slow, somber tale to lull you into sleep. As you sink into your pillow, gently tap, like, and subscribe if this story's soothing you. Share in the comments where you're nestled and what hour glows on your clock. It's always neat to see who's unwinding with us worldwide. Let the fan's soft hum wrap you like a blanket and glide with us into the shadows of this grim world. You didn't choose this path. It chose you, like a trap snapping shut. Maybe you're a farmer whose fields withered under a cruel frost, your kids' hungry eyes haunting you before fever took them. Or you're a soldier, banished for swiping a heel of bread, your name now mud in the barracks. Perhaps you're a petty thief, too sly for the gallows, noticed by some cloaked figure in a smoky tavern. You're a speck in a world that worships lords and knights, where, in the 1100s, most folks, over 90%, were peasants scraping by on less than a day's wage in modern coins. You're one of them, or near enough, and killing for coin isn't your ambition. It's your last gasp to see another dawn. Shame clings to you like damp wool. Every glance in a market feels like a spotlight, burning your secret into your skin. You're an outcast, shunned even by the tavern's drunks, your heart heavy with the fear someone might whisper your name. Your shadow's your only companion, a wavering ghost on the cobblestones, trembling with every flicker of torchlight. It's not just darkness. It's your mirror, your silent critic, stretching thin as the night deepens, whispering you're already half erased. Right now, it's twitchy, sharp-edged, darting as you duck behind a barrel. You loathe it, but it's your shield without the gloom. You're just a fool with a knife. Easy prey. Joke one, you tell yourself this is temporary, like that time you tried juggling for coppers and got pelted with turnips. But this life's got no encore, only a final curtain you can't dodge. No one in medieval England woke up dreaming, I'll shank a noble for a fistful of silver and a knight in a ditch. Assassins were the dregs, shunned even by cut purses and smugglers. Fact check, Europe had no slick assassin orders like the Middle East's Order of Assassins, who had strongholds and codes from 1090 to 1275. You've got a moth-eaten hood and a whispered deal from a stranger who smells of bad ale. Your contract is a name of bishop hoarding gold, a baron squeezing serfs dry, not some harmless tanner. The job's a death wish, but hunger's a worse one. Historians still bicker over whether you're a lone drifter or a pawn in some lord's scheme. But no one's found a Knives R Us guild hall in the records. A quirky tidbit, some assassins posed as lepers, wrapping themselves in filthy bandages to scare off guards too spooked to check their faces. But lepers don't get invited to castle feasts, so you'd better have a plan B. You're not trained. Not really. You might know how to skin a rabbit or dodge a taxman's glare, but sneaking killing, that's trial by fire, and the fire's unforgiving. You're not parkouring over ramparts. You're stumbling over loose stones, praying the guards snoring. Your first gig's a coin toss, slip into a manor, hope the target's not surrounded. Got a blade grate? If it's not rusted through, no. Then you're crouched in a stable, reeking of manure, wondering why you didn't just starve instead. Joke two, it's like signing up for a medieval internship, except the boss wants you dead before payday. Your shadow's still there, slinking along the wall. Sharper now, like it's settling into your new role. It's your edge, your cloak of night, but also your curse every move you make. It's watching, reminding you there's no going back. You hate how it mimics your flinch at every creak, but you need it. Will it mourn you when you're gone, or just latch onto the next sorry soul? Probably the latter, if your luck's any guide. The promise of coin keeps you moving a few silver pieces, enough for a crusty loaf, a straw pallet, maybe a moment to forget your name. But it's a lie, soft as a lullaby and twice as cruel. Your clients, scheming nobles, bitter merchants, or vengeful widows don't trust you. They hire you because you're nothing, a shadow to be snuffed out, half now, half later. They purr, but later means after we're sure you're not a loose tongue. Joke 3, it's like medieval crowdfunding, except the reward's a knife in your ribs instead of a thank you note. You're not just risking your neck for the target's men-at-arms, you're betting against the one who paid you, who'd rather hire a second killer than settle the bill. You're no legend, not even a proper rogue. You're a tool, a rustle in the dark, forgotten before the blood dries. Your shadow knows it, stretching longer, like it's practicing for the day it dances solo. You shuffle through the mud, the castle's silhouette looming, and wonder if this job's the one that ends you, or maybe the next. Either way, your shadow's not wagering on you seeing spring. What's it like to learn this trade, where every lesson could be your last? You're still here, hunched in a medieval alley, the night's mist curling cold around your cloak, the faint rasp of your pilfered dagger against leather, a whisper of the mess you've stumbled into. Your shadow, that eerie partner from our last tale, sprawls across the damp cobblestones. It mocks you now, jagged and twitching, laughing at your clumsy steps as you nearly trip over a loose stone. You're no cloaked legend trained in some misty temple with wise masters and soft chants. You're just you, a scrap of a person, your skills carved from mistakes that almost buried you. Becoming an assassin isn't a school with lessons. It's a cruel stumble through errors, where one wrong move means a noose. Fear of that final slip, missing a strike, waking a guard grips your chest, makes your hands shake like leaves in a storm. How do you keep from falling into that fatal mistake? Drift with us into this grim lesson. Your shadow shifting, ready to see if you'll outlast the night. No one hands you a scroll labeled How to Kill Quietly, 12th century style. No guild welcomes you with a nod and a dagger-sharpening seminar. Mainstream fact medieval Europe had no assassin academies, unlike the Middle East's Order of Assassins, who honed their craft in strongholds like Alamut from 1090 to 1275. You've got a muddy alley and a half-heard tip about where your target beds down. If you're lucky, a pickpocket you once bribed with a crust taught you to tread lightly on uneven stones or catch a guard's yawn by its rhythm. But your real teacher is failure, each near death a lecture etched in sweat. Your first job, sneaking into a merchant's den, showed you floorboards bite one creak, woke a dog that nearly took your hand. Lesson step soft. Test first. Joke 1. It's like learning to sing by cracking your voice, except the song's a baron's life, and the audience wants you hanged. Fear of that misstep, of guards dragging you to a gibbet, keeps your pulse hammering every night. You're tucked behind a cart, the air heavy with rotting fish from a nearby stall, your breath held to choke back a gag. Your shadow shifts, now your protector, cloaking you in its dark embrace as a torchbearer's light swings close. Stealth's no gift, it's a patchwork of fumbles. You've learned to move with the wind's sigh, masking your steps as shutters clatter. Moonlight betrays you, glinting off steel. So you smear mud on your face, its sour reek a small price for invisibility. A quirky tidbit, some assassins rub pig fat on their boots for silence, only to leave greasy streaks guards could track like hounds. Historians still argue whether these were clever tricks or the last gasps of men like you, scraping by on hope and error. That dread of being caught of one wrong breath ending it all makes every move a prayer you're too scared to speak. Killing sounds simple, stab and done, but quietly, without a scream or a chase, that's where you've faltered. Your first swing at a dozing lord clipped his arm, his yell sending you scrambling through a window, heart pounding with the terror of failure. You hid in a pigsty, its stench masking you as guards ran past. Lesson check for chainmail, aim for the heart. Escaping's the harder art. You've learned to trace alleys, note roofs with shaky tiles, and know which streams are shallow enough to cross. Every job's a deadly riddle, and you solve it with trembling hands, fear whispering you'll miss the exit this time. Your shadow shrinks back now, as if scared of your next blunder, cowering against the wall as you edge toward a manor's gate. Poison's a skill you've botched, too. No sleek toxins for you, just weeds like nightshade or mushrooms. You guess might kill. Your first try at lacing a lord's wine was a fiasco, too weak. He just hiccuped. Too strong. You nearly poisoned yourself stirring it. No herbalist to call, just you, shaking, praying your mix works. You've learned stew's safer servants don't taste slop, but it's a gamble. Once, your target slurped your spiked broth and lived, raging for days, doubling his guards. The fear of that failure of him waking, pointing at you, keeps you sleepless, staring at the dark, dreading the next job. Your shadow mimics your dread now, quivering as you do, a dark echo of your racing heart. You pause by a stable, the air sharp with manure's tang, your boots sinking into the muck, your shadow's back, mimicking your crouch, its edges blurring as clouds veil the moon. You're better now, quieter, sharper, but each job's a dice roll. You've learned to spot traps a maid who's too awake, a gate left too open. You've mastered holding your breath near ivy, after one sneeze sent you diving into a cesspit till dawn, terror choking you. Joke too, it's like learning to juggle, except the balls are knives and the crowd's got crossbows. Survival's your professor, and it's ruthless, every scar a lesson, every escape a warning. Avoiding that fatal mistake hinges on instincts honed in panic. A low candle means someone's up, a quiet dog means danger. You've learned to spot body doubles, nobles use them, and you once nearly knifed a fake while the real target slept safe. Escaping's your true craft. You know which inns hide back doors, which bridges guards dodge at night. But luck's your lifeline. That time, a stray hen tripped you into a haystack as a patrol passed pure chance. You plan for mayhem, carry a spare cloak, sniff for a guard's cheap ale, breath but fear never leaves. What if this job's the one where luck fails? Your shadow, now protective again, cloaks you as you move, but it can't hide your trembling. You're no expert, just a survivor, stitching skills from dread and dumb luck. You demand half the coin up front, stashing it under a riverstone because clients love to forget the rest. That merchant who grinned too widely. You fled when you saw his men skulking, your gut twisting at the thought of their blades. Lesson trust, no smile. Joke 3. It's like buying bread, except the bread's a murder and the baker's aiming a bolt at your back. Sleep eludes you now, haunted by near misses, each one a ghost that could have been your last. Your shadow, mimicking your fear, stretches long, as if waiting for the mistake that ends you. How do you face the betrayal of those who hire you, when even success might be a trap? You're still slinking through the medieval night, the damp chill of the alley seeping into your bones, the weight of your dagger a cold comfort against your hip. Your shadow, that fickle companion, now mimics your every twitch, stretching taut across the cobblestones like it's trying to outrun you. It's not just a shadow anymore, it's your accomplice, your betrayer, always one step ahead, hinting at the treachery waiting in the dark. You've learned to move quietly, to kill without waking the house. But the coin that keeps you alive, it's a lie wrapped in promises. The clients who hire you, scheming lords, greedy merchants, or scorned widows, dangle silver like bait. But their smiles hide blades sharper than yours. Every job's a gamble, and the payout's rarely what it seems. The fear of betrayal, that sick twist in your gut, is your constant shadow now, worse than any guard's spear. How do you keep going when the hand that pays you might be the one that kills you, Let's drift deeper into this murky world, your shadow leading the way, ready to see if you'll outwit the trap. The promise of coin is why you're here. Isn't it a few silver pieces, enough to buy a loaf, a night's shelter, maybe a moment to forget the blood on your hands? But it's a cruel jest. Clients don't hire you for loyalty. They hire you because you're expendable. Half now, half when it's done. They murmur, their eyes darting like rats. But when it's done means when we're sure you didn't talk. Mainstream medieval contracts for illicit work, like those for assassins, were often verbal, with no legal recourse, as seen in records of political plots like the 1170 murder of Thomas Becket, where knights acted on vague royal orders. You can't march to a magistrate and demand your back pay. If you try, you're confessing to murder. Joke 1. It's like signing up for a medieval side hustle, except the app's a dagger and the 5-star review is a grave. You're crouched by a tavern wall now, the air thick with the sour tang of spilled ale and damp wood, your shadow pooling like ink as a lantern swings nearby. You've learned to spot the lie in a client's voice, the too quick nod, the purse that feels too light. That time you took a job from a merchant with a twitchy smile. You demanded half up front, stashing it under a bridgestone before you even touched the blade. Good call, his men were waiting at the rendezvous, crossbows cocked. The fear of that betrayal, of a knife in your back instead of coin, makes your stomach lurch every time you meet a client. You've learned to pick spots with 2 exits, to watch their hands, to never turn your back. But it's never enough. Your shadow, now your protector, cloaks you in darkness. But it can't shield you from the dread that this job's a setup. Sometimes the coin never comes. You kill the target, a corrupt bishop, say, who skims tithes and return to the meeting spot, only to find it empty. The client vanished like mist. You're left with half a purse and a city full of guards sniffing your trail. Worse, some clients pay in full just to lure you into a trap. You once took a job from a noble who handed over a heavy sack of silver, his grin too wide. You bolted when you heard boots behind you, the coin left in a ditch to slow your pursuers. Lesson-heavy purses are as dangerous as empty ones. A quirky tidbit, some assassins were paid in forged coins, only to be arrested for passing fakes they didn't know were bad. Historians still argue whether this was deliberate client betrayal or just medieval currency chaos. Either way, you're the one who pays. Your shadow shifts now, shrinking back as you slip toward a manor's gate, the night air sharp with pine and the faint whiff of a guard's cheap tallow candle. It's mocking you again, as if it knows the coin's a lie before you do. You've learned to demand payment up front, but even that's a risk. Clients hate parting with silver before the job's done. You've gotten good at haggling, your voice low, your eyes never leaving their hands. But every deal's a dance with death. That time a scribe promised you life-changing coin for a baron's death. You smelled the setup when he kept glancing at the door. You walked away, heart pounding, the fear of a double cross burning hotter than any torch. Joke 2, it's like bargaining for a horse, except the horse is murder and the seller's got a noose in his pocket. The worst betrayal isn't skipped payment, it's the second contract. Some clients, paranoid you'll talk, hire another assassin to tie up loose ends. You've heard whispers of it, seen it once a friend, or as close as you get to one, found face down in a gutter after a clean job. You've learned to watch for shadows not your own, to listen for the creak of a bowstring in the dark. Your shadow, now mimicking your caution, stretches taut as you pause by a stable, its edges quivering with your own paranoia. You don't trust taverns anymore, not after one job where the ale tasted too bitter and the barmaid's eyes lingered too long. You've survived by assuming every client's a liar, every purse a trap. But the fear never fades, that sick dread that the next job's the one where you're the target. You've gotten clever, or so you hope. You hide your face, change your walk, Use a false name with every deal, Brother Thomas one day, What the Carter the next. You've learned to meet clients in crowded markets, where a shout draws eyes, or on bridges, where you can jump if it goes wrong. But no trick saves you from the truth you're a loose end. The noble who hired you to kill his rival doesn't want you boasting over ale. The merchant who wanted his partner gone doesn't want you naming him in a dungeon. Your shadow, now your betrayer, stretches long as you near the manor, as if it's ready to sell you out. You've survived by never staying still, never trusting, never believing the coin's worth the cost. Joke 3. It's like playing chess with a king who cheats, except the board's a city and the checkmate's a blade. You're no hero, not even a proper villain. You're a ghost, paid in promises that crumble like ash. The fear of betrayal keeps you sharp, but it's eating you alive every deal a step closer to the trap you can't see. You shuffle toward the manor's back gate, the castle silhouette looming like a judge. Your shadow, now your accomplice again, cloaks you as you move, but it can't hide the tremor in your hands. You wonder if this job's the one where the client's smile turns to steel, or if you'll see the coin at all. Either way, your shadow's keeping score, and it's not betting on you. What's it like to carry tools that betray you as often as your clients do? You're still creeping through the medieval night, the air heavy with damp earth and the faint whiff of charcoal from a dying brazier nearby. Your shadow, that sly companion, now slinks ahead, mimicking your cautious crouch, but with a taunting edge, as if it knows your tools are as likely to betray you as your clients. That dagger at your hip, stolen, chipped, smelling faintly of rust, feels like a fickle friend, ready to snap or slip at the worst moment. You're no gadget-laden spy from some modern flick, decked out with smoke bombs or folding crossbows. Your kit's a patchwork of scavenged junk, barely enough to get the job done. Every job's a gamble with gear that's more curse than aid, and the fear of it failing you mid-strike, mid-escape claws at your gut. How could you pull off a kill with a dull blade and a prayer? Let's sink into this gritty world, your shadow dancing, daring you to survive the tools that might undo you. Forget the fantasy of sleek assassin gear. Your arsenal is whatever you could nick or cobble together, a dagger lifted from a drunk guard, a rope frayed from hauling sacks, maybe a vial of poison that's more guesswork than guarantee. You're not strutting into a castle with a gleaming blade etched with dragons. Your knife's dull, its handle wrapped in greasy cloth to muffle the clink. Mainstream fact medieval assassins relied on simple, concealable weapons, as evidenced by accounts of political murders like the 1170 killing of Thomas Becket, where knights used basic swords and daggers hidden under cloaks. No retractable wrist blades or enchanted steel here, just whatever fits under your ragged hood without jingling. Joke 1, it's like going to a duel with a butter knife, except the duel's a murder and the butter's your hope. You're tucked against a stone wall now, the rough grit scraping your shoulder, the night air sharp with the tang of wet moss. Your shadow, protective for once, pools dark to hide you as a patrol's lantern flickers close. That dagger's your lifeline, but it's a traitor too. Once, you swung at a sleeping merchant, only for the blade to bend against his hidden chainmail, the screech waking the house. You barely escaped, diving into a ditch, heart pounding as dogs bayed. Lesson check for armor, sharpened daily. Ropes are no better. You've used them to climb or strangle, but they're as likely to snap as hold. That time you scaled a manor wall. The rope frayed, leaving you dangling. Praying the guard below was death. Your shadow mocked you then, sprawling wide, like it was laughing at your panic. Poison's the worst of your tools, unreliable as a drunken promise. You don't have neat vials of cyanide or labeled bottles from some apothecary's shelf. You've got crushed herbs belladonna, maybe, or toadstool scrapings that you mix with trembling hands, hoping they'll kill. A quirky tidbit, some assassins hid poison in hollowed-out bread, slipping it into a kitchen unnoticed, only to find it fed to the dogs instead. Historians still argue whether this was clever smuggling or just another desperate flop. You tried poisoning a lord's stew once, only to watch him gag, spit it out, and double his guards. Another time, you brushed the mix with bare fingers and spent a night retching in an alley, your shadow shrinking as if ashamed of your blunder. Lesson handled with care. Pray harder. You're edging toward a manor gate now, the air thick with the sour reek of a nearby latrine, your shadow shrinking back as moonlight threatens to betray you. Your tools are sparse: a dagger, a rope, maybe a garrote of twisted hemp if you're feeling fancy. No backups, no spares. Lose your blade down a well. You're improvising with a slate tile or a sharpened stick. Joke 2, it's like cooking with half a spoon and no fire, except the dish is death and the kitchen's a gallows. You've learned to hide your gear in your cloak's hem or a hollowed loaf, but it's never enough. That time you dropped your rope crossing a moat, you swam, shivering, cursing your luck, fear of capture burning hotter than the cold, your shadows mimicking you again, its edges quivering as you pause by a stable, the stench of hay and manure curling your nose. It's as if it knows your tools are a gamble. Your dagger could dull, your poison could fizzle, your rope could break. You've learned to check your blade's edge before every job, to test your rope's strength, to smell your poison for potency. But luck's your real weapon. That time, your dagger slipped from its sheath and didn't clatter. Pure chance. You've survived by treating every tool like a traitor, every job like a test of your wits against your own gear. The fear of a bent blade or a failed dose keeps you sharp, but it's eating you alive. Each job a reminder you're one snap away from ruin. Hey. You've gotten crafty, hiding a knife in your boot or tying a garrote under your belt, but it's never foolproof. You once hid poison in a hollowed apple, only for a servant to snatch it for a snack. Lesson: hide better, trust less. You've learned to carry light too much gear jingles, and jingling's a death sentence. But no amount of care saves you from the truth. Your tools are as likely to kill you as your target. Your shadow, now your accomplice, cloaks you as you slip toward the manor, but it can't hide the dread that your blade might betray you mid-strike. Joke 3, it's like building a house with a broken hammer, except the house is a corpse and the nails are your nerves. You're no master assassin, just a survivor wielding junk that barely works. Every job's a dance with faulty tools. Every kill a miracle of luck and desperation. You shuffle forward, the manor's silhouette looming like a judge, your shadow stretching long, as if it's ready to abandon you. You wonder if this is the job where your dagger dulls, your rope snaps, or your poison backfires. The fear of your gear failing you, leaving you exposed, is a weight heavier than the blade itself. Your shadow knows it, flickering like it's betting against you. What's it like to face a fortress with nothing but a rusty knife and a heart full of dread? You're edging along a crumbling wall, the night thick with the damp reek of river mud and the faint clink of chain mail from a guard post nearby. Your shadow, that restless partner, now weaves across the stones, stretching thin as if trying to slip away before you face the fortress ahead. It's taunting you, flickering like it knows the odds castles don't welcome types like you. You're not just up against a man, but a maze of stone, guards, and paranoia, where every step could be your last. Your target's no tavern drunk or sleepy merchant. It's a noble, a bishop, maybe a king, locked behind walls, moats, and men who'd gut you for blinking wrong. The fear of failing, of being spotted, trapped, or skewered burns in your chest like a swallowed ember. How do you even get close to someone so untouchable? Let's drift into this fortress of dread, your shadow slinking along, betting you won't make it through. These targets are no easy mark. Nobles and bishops live like hawks in a nest high, guarded, and twitchy. A mainstream fact: medieval castles, like those built across Europe from the 11th century, were designed as fortresses with layered defenses, moats, drawbridges, and murder holes to pour boiling oil on intruders like you. You're not strolling through a front gate, You're facing a labyrinth of stone and steel. Picture a Baron's Keep walls thick enough to stop a catapult, a moat teeming with things that bite, and guards, dozens of them, not just two sleepy fools. You've spent days watching their patrols, noting when the asthmatic one takes a breather after 20 stairs. Your shadow, now mocking you, sprawls wide as you crouch near the moat, its ripples catching moonlight, daring you to cross without a splash. You're pressed against a mossy outcrop, the air sharp with the tang of stagnant water, your heart hammering as a guard's torch swings too close. Your shadow shrinks, as if scared of the light, leaving you exposed. Getting in means outsmarting more than guards. There's the gatehouse, bristling with arrow slits where archers wait to turn you into a pincushion. Murder holes overhead. Promise hot sand or worse. Imagine that searing your skin, slipping into your cloak's gaps. You've learned to spot weak points, a crumbling wall, a servant's gate left ajar. But even those are traps. Once, you slipped through an unguarded door only to find a stable boy staring, his shout faster than your sprint. You dove into a haystack, the prickly straw your only cover, fear of capture choking you. Joke one, it's like sneaking into a party, except the bouncers have swords and the punch is boiling oil. Servants are your worst nightmare, not the armed men, but the cooks, maids, and scribes who notice everything. A mainstream tidbit. Medieval households employed dozens of staff, from tasters checking for poison to jesters who'd snitch for a laugh. You've learned to avoid the kitchen, where a cook might spot your unfamiliar face, or the stables, where a boy's gossip travels faster than a horse. You once posed as a woodcutter, only for a maid to squint and mutter, "Never seen him before." You ran, heart-pounding, your shadow stretching like it was trying to escape first. Lesson blend in, but never linger. You've gotten good at mimicking a servant's slouch, but one wrong word, like forgetting the cook's cat's name, means a candlestick to your skull. Your shadow's back, mimicking your crouch by the gate, its edges quivering as a dog's bark echoes. The real challenge is your target's paranoia. Nobles don't just lock doors, they sleep with 3 bolts, a taster for their wine, and sometimes a decoy in their bed. You've heard of lords rotating rooms like a deadly game of chess, or bishops hiring dogs trained to sniff strangers. Once, you crept into a chamber, blade ready, only to find a straw dummy under the blankets. The real target long gone. Your stomach dropped, fear of a trap making you bolt before guards swarmed. Historians still argue whether such decoys were common, or just tales spun by nervous nobles. Either way, you've learned to check for breathing before you strike, but the dread of missing your mark never fades. You're inching along a wall now, the stone cold and slick under your fingers, the faint hum of a distant feast taunting you. Your shadow, protective for a moment, cloaks you as clouds veil the moon. Getting close takes weeks bribing a chambermaid, posing as a rat catcher, or hiding in a barrel that reeks of sour wine. You've learned to study routines when the guards change, when the steward naps. But feasts are the worst. Your target's drunk, sure, but so's everyone else. And you've got to dodge royal guards, 3 barking dogs, and a jester who's too alert for his own good. Joke 2. It's like crashing a wedding, except the bride's a blade and the guests want your head. The fear of being seen, of one wrong glance unraveling you, keeps your hands shaking. Every move's a risk. You've learned to climb ivy without rustling, to slip through windows without a creak. But one mistake, a loose stone, a cough ends it all. You once scaled a tower, only to sneeze and alert a guard, forcing you into a latrine stench for hours, heart racing as boots stomped above. Your shadow, now shrinking again, seems to cower with you, as if it knows the fortress is a beast that eats men like you. You've survived by watching, waiting, planning for every guard's step, every servant's whisper. But luck's your true ally that time you slipped on mud, but landed behind a cart as a patrol passed blind chance. The fear of failing, of being caught mid-climb, haunts every move. You're no knight storming a castle. just a ghost trying to slip through its jaws. Your shadow, mimicking you again, stretches toward the manor's gate, as if eager to see you fail. You wonder if this is the job where a guard's too quick, a servant's too nosy, or a decoy's too clever. The fortress looms, its walls whispering doom, and your heart pounds with the dread of being trapped. Your shadow knows it, flickering like it's ready to flee. How do you disguise yourself to fool a castle full of eyes, when one glance could end you? You're still inching through the medieval gloom, the air sharp with the reek of damp straw and the faint jingle of a guard's keys echoing from a tower above. Your shadow, that slippery companion, now clings close, mimicking your every hunch but with a wary twitch, as if it senses the eyes waiting to catch you. It's not just the guards or moats you're dodging, it's the whole castle, alive with whispers and watchful stares, ready to unmask you. You're no master of disguise, no cloaked hero slipping through with a flourish. Your disguise is a tattered monk's robe or a servant's rag, smelling of sweat and yesterday's stew, barely enough to fool a drunk stable boy. Remember that leper trick you heard about, wrapping yourself in bandages to scare off guards? Yeah, that's the kind of desperate ploy you're stuck with now. The fear of being spotted, of one wrong glance shredding your cover, makes your breath catch like a snagged thread. How do you fool a castle full of gossiping eyes? Let's sink deeper into this tense masquerade, your shadow hovering, waiting to see if you'll blend in or break. Disguises in the Middle Ages aren't the stuff of spy novels. No tailored cloaks or fake beards crafted by a master. You're scavenging what you can peasant rags, a hood 2 sizes too big, or a guard's tunic you lifted from a laundry line, still stinking of its last owner. Mainstream fact medieval assassins often posed as common folk, like pilgrims or laborers, as seen in accounts of plots like the 1308 attempt on Edward II, where killers blended into crowds to get close. Your disguise is your only shield, but it's flimsy. A monk's robe might get you past a gate, but one wrong step, like tripping over the hem, turns you into a fool in a spotlight. Your shadow, now mocking you, sprawls wide as you adjust your ill-fitting hood, its edges laughing at your clumsy charade. You're pressed against a courtyard wall now, the stone rough and cold under your palms, the air thick with the scent of baking bread from the castle kitchen. Your shadow shrinks, as if afraid to be seen, as a servant's lantern swings nearby. You've learned to mimic the shuffle of a woodcutter or the slouch of a scullery maid, but it's a gamble. Servants notice everything a stranger's face, a cloak that doesn't fit right. You once posed as a baker's boy, only for a cook to squint and hiss. Who's he? You bolted, heart-hammering, the fear of exposure burning like a brand. Lesson, know the castle's rhythm before you fake it. Joke 1, it's like sneaking into a school play, except the script's a murder and the audience has pitchforks. The castle's a hive of gossip, and you're the odd bee. Maids chatter about new faces. Stable boys snitch for a coin. You've learned to avoid the kitchen, where a nosy cook might spot your shaky hands, or the hall, where a jester's sharp eyes could undo you. A quirky tidbit, some assassins smear dirt on their faces to age themselves, hoping to pass as old peddlers, only to be caught when the beard washed off in rain. Historians still argue whether such disguises were common or just desperate stabs at survival. You've tried it, rubbing mud on your cheeks, but it itches, and the fear of it smearing mid-job keeps your pulse racing. Your shadow, now protective, cloaks you as you slip past a guard, but it can't hide the dread that one wrong look will end you. You're creeping toward a servant's door now, the air heavy with the tang of spilled ale and wood smoke, your shadow mimicking your crouch like a cautious twin. You've learned to fake accents, mumble like a local, drop a name to sound familiar, but it's never enough. That time you posed as a messenger. A scribe asked for the Lord's seal, and your stammer gave you away. You dove into a barrel, the sour wine soaking you, fear of capture choking your throat. Lesson, know the castle's people, not just its walls. You've gotten better at blending, but the terror of being unmasked, of a maid's whisper turning into a guard's shout, makes every step a tightrope walk. Feasts are the worst. Your target's there, drunk and loud, but so's everyone else, guards, guests, even that cursed jester who never blinks. You've learned to pose as a server, balancing trays to hide your trembling hands, but one spilled goblet can ruin you. Once, you dropped a platter, and the crash drew every eye. You slipped out as a guest yelled, "Thief!" Your shadow, shrinking again, seemed to cower with you as you hid in a latrine, heart pounding. Joke 2, it's like gate crashing a prom, except the punch is poisoned and the chaperones have swords. You've survived by watching faces, learning who trusts and who suspects, but the fear of a single glance undoing you never fades. You've gotten crafty, using rags to muffle your boots or dirt to dull your blade's glint, but disguises are a gamble. No wigs, no masks, just you, praying your limp convinces someone you're a harmless cripple. That time you posed as a monk and a guard asked your monastery's name. You muttered nonsense and ran. The fear of discovery, a knife in your gut, your shadow, now your accomplice, clings tight as you near the manor's inner gate, its edges steady as if rooting for you. But you know better castles are traps, and one wrong word, one curious stare, means a club to your skull. Joke 3, it's like playing dress-up, except the costume's a death sentence and the audience wants you dead. You're no master of deception, just a ghost in borrowed rags, surviving on luck and lies. The castle looms, its walls whispering suspicion, and your shadow stretches long, as if ready to slip away without you. You wonder if this is the job where a maid's squint or a guard's question ends it all. The fear of being seen, of your disguise failing, is a weight heavier than your blade. Your shadow knows it, flickering like it's betting against you. How do you live with no one to trust, not even the shadow at your back? You're still skulking through the medieval dark, the air thick with the sour tang of wet wool and the distant crackle of a guard's fire. Your shadow, that ever-present companion, now shrinks back against the alley wall, as if it's tired of your endless running, wary of the loneliness that clings to you like damp fog. It's not just the castle's eyes or your flimsy disguises you're dodging. Remember those greasy pig fat boots you heard about, meant to silence your steps, but leaving trails for guards now. It's the crushing weight of being utterly alone, a ghost even among thieves. No friends, no allies, just you and a rusty dagger, with trust as rare as a warm bed. The fear of letting your guard down, of even one person knowing your name, makes your heart stutter like a trapped bird. How do you survive when you're a shadow among shadows, with no one to turn to? Let's drift into this quiet, desolate world, your shadow fading, wondering if you'll ever find a place to rest. You don't have a team, no clever alchemist brewing poisons in a hidden lair, no sidekick with a crossbow and a wink. You're alone, and that's not just a choice, it's survival. Mainstream fact, medieval assassins operated solo, unlike the Middle East's Order of Assassins, who had networks and fortresses from 1090 to 1275, as chronicled in sources like Marco Polo's accounts. In Europe, you're a loner, not by pride, but by necessity. Every contact's a risk, every whispered name a potential noose. You've learned to keep your secrets tighter than your cloak, because even a tavern buddy asking about your scars could sell you out for a coin. Your shadow, now mocking you, stretches thin as you pause by a tavern's glow, its edges sharp like it's sneering at your isolation. You're hunched behind a barrel now, the air heavy with the reek of spilled ale and rotting straw. Your shadow cowering as a drunk stumbles past. You've got no one to trust, not a lover, not a friend, not even yourself when sleep brings dreams of blood. You once shared a drink with a smuggler, thinking he might be an ally, only to wake with his knife at your throat, demanding your last job's take. You escaped, barely, the betrayal cutting deeper than any blade, your shadow pooling like spilled ink as you fled. Lesson: never share your story. The fear of someone knowing you, really knowing you, keeps you moving, always a step ahead of trust. Joke 1, it's like joining a book club, except the book's your life and the club wants you dead. The world's no kinder to you than your clients. Thieves might swap tales over ale, but you're the shadow they fear, the one who makes men vanish. Even criminals keep their distance, eyeing you like a plague carrier. You've learned to sit in the darkest tavern corner, back to the wall, eyes on the door. Once, a barmaid lingered too long, her smile too curious, and you left town by dawn, heart pounding at the thought of her tongue wagging. Your shadow, now protective, cloaks you as you slip through the night, but it can't shield you from the ache of being no one to anyone. You're not just hiding from guards, you're hiding from life itself. A ghost who can't afford to be seen. You're edging toward a town gate now, the air sharp with the scent of pine and the faint hum of a night market. Your shadow mimics your cautious steps, its edges trembling like your own nerves. You've tried to connect, once or twice. A market girl's laugh, a farmer's nod, they tempt you to linger, to pretend you're human. But every bruise, every bloodstain reminds you why you can't. You once let a beggar see your face too long, and the next day, whispers of a hooded killer spread like wildfire. You ran, the fear of recognition, a knife in your gut, your shadow stretching long as if trying to escape with you. A quirky tidbit: some assassins used false names so often they forgot their own, becoming ghosts even to themselves. Historians still argue whether this was deliberate or a side effect of their lonely trade. Loneliness isn't just a feeling, it's your armor. You've learned to trust no one, not even the kindly innkeeper who offers a free bowl of stew. That time you accepted one. The broth was laced, and you spent a night retching in a ditch, your shadow shrinking as if ashamed. Lesson: eat alone, sleep alone, live alone. You've gotten good at vanishing new towns, new names, new lies. But the cost is high. You don't dream of love or laughter anymore, only of the next job, the next escape. Your shadow, now your accomplice, clings tight as you pass a flickering torch, but it can't fill the void where trust should be. Joke 2. It's like being your own best friend, except your friend's a dagger and it's terrible at conversation. The world sees you as a monster and you can't argue. You've learned to move like a ghost, to speak only in whispers, to leave no trace, but every job carves away a piece of you. You once overheard a child call you the Shadow Man, and the name stuck, haunting you more than any guard's spear. Your shadow, mimicking you again, stretches toward the gate, as if it's the only one who'll mourn you. You wonder if this life alone, unseen, unremembered, is worth the coin. The fear of letting anyone close, of one slip revealing you, keeps you running, always running. Joke 3, it's like living in a crowd, except the crowd's a mob, and they're all holding torches. You're no hero, no villain, just a shadow among shadows, surviving on silence and suspicion. The town gate looms, its iron bars a reminder of the cage you've built yourself. Your shadow, now fading into the dark, seems to know you'll never rest, never belong. You wonder if this is the job where loneliness breaks you, where the weight of no one knowing your name becomes too heavy. How do you face the moment when even your shadow betrays you, leaving you to face death alone? You're still weaving through the medieval night, the air heavy with the damp chill of fog and the faint creak of a distant cartwheel. Your shadow, that restless companion, now flickers across the uneven cobblestones, stretching thin as if it's bracing for your next misstep. It's not just watching, it's waiting, poised to see if you'll crumble under the weight of this job. You're no slick assassin gliding through shadows with a smirk. You're a trembling wreck, clutching a dull blade, praying you don't botch this kill. The castle looms ahead, its walls a fortress of eyes and steel, and your target a noble, a bishop, Maybe a king waits inside, untouchable. Remember that time you nearly stabbed a decoy, only to hear the real target snoring 2 rooms away. That kind of mistake could end you now. One slip, a missed strike. A loud step means a public, agonizing death, with ropes, fire, or worse. The fear of failing, of facing the gallows creek, twists your gut like a noose tightening. How do you survive when failure means not just death, but a spectacle of it? Let's slip into this tense moment, your shadow quivering, ready to see if you'll outrun fate. Failure isn't a slap on the wrist, it's a one-way trip to a very public end. Mainstream fact medieval punishments for crimes like assassination were brutal, often involving public executions like hanging or quartering, as seen in records of traitors' deaths in 13th century England. If you miss your mark, you're not just dead, you're a lesson. Your body swinging from a gibbet with a sign reading, "Nice try." You're crouched by a manor wall now, the stone cold and slick under your fingers, the air sharp with the tang of wet earth and torch smoke. Your shadow, now mocking you, sprawls wide as you fumble with your dagger, its edges dancing like it's laughing at your shaking hands. You've learned to strike fast, but once you hesitated. A lord turned, his eyes locking on yours. You ran, heart pounding, diving into a ditch as guards swarmed. The fear of that moment, of being seen, still wakes you sweating. You're inching toward a servant's gate, the reek of rotting straw stinging your nose, your shadow shrinking as a guard's lantern swings close. Every job's a tightrope, and failure's a fall you don't survive. You've learned to check for decoys, to listen for breathing, but mistakes happen. That time you nicked a noble's arm instead of his heart. His scream woke the castle, and you barely escaped, scrambling through a latrine's muck, the terror of capture burning hotter than the stench. Lesson: aim true, or don't aim at all. A quirky tidbit: some failed assassins were betrayed by their own tools, a dagger's glint or a rope's snap leading to capture, as whispered in tales of botched plots. Historians still argue whether these failures were due to poor skill or cursed luck. Your shadow, now protective, cloaks you as you move, but it can't hide the dread that one slip will end you. The consequences are theatrical. Miss your target, and the castle goes on lockdown gates, slam, checkpoints rise, and your face, or a crude sketch of it, gets tacked to every tavern wall. You once botched a job, slipping on a loose cobble mid-strike, the clatter waking a guard. You fled, your shadow stretching long as you dove into a river, the cold biting as hard as your fear of the gallows. The client's no help either. Fail, and you're a liability. That merchant who hired you to kill a rival, he sent men after you when you missed, their blades gleaming in the dark. You've learned to plan escapes before jobs alleys, roofs, shallow streams, but the fear of being hunted, of your name whispered in a dungeon, never fades. Joke 1, it's like flunking a test, except the teacher's a hangman and the grade's your head. Your shadow's mimicking you now, its edges quivering as you pause by a stable, the air thick with manure and the faint hum of a distant feast. You've gotten better checking blades, mapping exits, but failure's shadow looms larger than your own. You've heard of assassins caught mid-job, dragged to a square where crowds cheered as they were torn apart. The thought of that spectacle of ropes tightening, of fire licking your skin, makes your hands shake. You've learned to move when guards are drunk, to strike when the castle sleeps, but luck's your real savior. That time you tripped over a bucket, but landed behind a cart as a patrol passed blind chance. Your shadow, now shrinking, seems to cower with you, as if it knows the price of failure. Clients make it worse. They don't just want the job done, they want silence. Fail, and they'll hire another to clean up the mess you once heard of a killer, like you, who missed his mark and was found floating in a moat, his own client's signature on his death. You've learned to leave no trace, to vanish before the body's cold. But the fear of betrayal cuts deeper than any blade. Your shadow, Now your accomplice clings tight as you near the manor's gate, its edges steady as if rooting for you. But you know better one mistake, and you're the next public lesson, your name cursed in every tavern. Joke 2, it's like missing a deadline, except the boss is a mob and the penalty's a pyre. You've survived by being paranoid, by assuming every job's a trap. You check for decoys, listen for traps, plan for chaos. But no amount of care erases the truth. You're only as good as your last kill. Miss, and the world turns on you, guards, clients, even the crowd that cheers your end. Your shadow, mimicking you again, stretches toward the gate as if eager to see you fail. You wonder if this is the job where you slip, where the blade misses, where the crowd gets its show. The fear of that moment, of becoming a spectacle, is heavier than your dagger. Joke 3. It's like playing a game, except the rules are death and the prize is just another day. What's it like to run from a city that wants your blood, knowing success is just a fleeting shadow? You're sprinting through a medieval alley, the air sharp with the sting of smoke and the distant baying of hounds hot on your trail. Your shadow, that elusive partner, now races alongside you, stretching long and lean across the cobblestones, as if it's trying to outrun you to safety or abandon you to fate. You've just done the deed a noble lies dead, blood still warm on your blade, and the castle behind you hums with chaos. Remember that time you nearly poisoned yourself with that dodgy stew mix? You're not out of the woods yet, not by a long shot. Success doesn't mean a victory lap. It means running for your life, dodging lockdowns, checkpoints, and the client who might want you silenced next. The fear of being caught, of hounds tearing at your heels, or a client's betrayal grips your chest like a vice. Can you vanish before the city swallows you? Let's slip into this breathless escape, your shadow leading, daring you to outpace the hunt. Success is no crown. It's a target painted on your back. The moment your dagger strikes true, your new job begins getting out alive. Mainstream fact medieval cities, like London in the 13th century, could lock down fast after a high-profile killing, with gates sealed and patrols scouring streets, as seen in chronicles of political murders. You're not sipping ale in a tavern, toasting your win. You're bolting through muck, heart-pounding as shouts echo behind you. Your shadow, now your accomplice, cloaks you as you duck behind a cart, the air thick with the reek of rotting fish and tar. You've learned to plan escapes before the kill alleys mapped, roofs scouted, rivers checked for depth. But one wrong turn, like that time you tripped into a pigsty fleeing a botched job, and you're done. The fear of those hounds, their teeth glinting, keeps your legs pumping. You're weaving through a market now, the air heavy with the scent of stale bread and sweat, your shadow shrinking as torchlight threatens to expose you. Every gate's a trap, guards are doubling, bells ringing, and your face, or some crude sketch of it, is already whispered in every inn. You've learned to ditch your cloak, to smear mud on your face to blur your features. Once, after a clean kill, you hid in a latrine, the stench choking you as patrols passed, your heart hammering with the dread of discovery. Lesson, vanish fast, leave nothing behind. A quirky tidbit, some assassins tossed fake coins into crowds to spark chaos, buying seconds to slip away. Historians still argue whether this was clever distraction or desperate improvisation. Your shadow, now mocking you, dances as you fumble with a spare hood, its edges laughing at your panic. Clients make escape harder. They don't want you celebrating, they want you gone. That merchant who paid you to kill his rival, he's likely hiring another to tie up loose ends you. You've heard tales of assassins found floating in rivers, their reward a blade in the back. You've learned to avoid rendezvous points, to take the coin and run. Once, you met a client by a bridge, only to spot his men lurking, crossbows glinting. You dove into the water, the cold biting as hard as your fear of betrayal. Your shadow, now protective, cloaks you as you crawl through a ditch, the mud sucking at your boots. The fear of that second contract, of being the next target, makes every shadow suspect, every creek a threat. You're scrambling toward a city gate now, the air sharp with pine and the distant clang of a blacksmith's hammer. Your shadow mimics your frantic pace, its edges quivering like your own nerves. You've gotten good at disappearing new names, new towns, new lies. But lockdowns are brutal. Gates slam shut, checkpoints sprout, and guards with your description hooded man, maybe armed, comb the streets. You once hid in a hayloft for 3 days, the prickly straw your only bed, hunger gnawing as hard as the fear of capture. Lesson: know every exit, trust no one. Joke 1, it's like sneaking out of a party. Except the host's a king and the bouncers have bloodhounds. The city's alive with your failure or your success. Every kill stirs a hornet's nest. You've learned to move at dawn, when guards are tired, or during feasts, when they're drunk. But luck's your real savior. That time you slipped on a cobble, but landed in a merchant's cart as a patrol passed pure chance. Your shadow, now shrinking, seems to cower with you as you pause by a stable, the reek of manure a grim shield. You've learned to carry a spare cloak, to know which boatmen take bribes, which alleys hide you best. But the fear of being caught of a guard's shout or a hound's teeth never fades. Joke 2, it's like running from a bad date, except the date's a city and the breakup's a beheading. You've survived by being a ghost, leaving no trace, no name, no story. But every escape costs you. You don't sleep. Not really. Every creek's a guard, every dream a chase. You once paid a ferryman to smuggle you out, only for him to whisper your description to a dock guard for extra coin. You swam, shivering, the fear of betrayal colder than the water. Your shadow, now your accomplice again, stretches toward the gate, as if urging you to keep moving. You wonder if this is the job where the hounds catch up, where the client's trap snaps shut. The fear of being hunted, of never stopping, is heavier than the blood on your blade. Joke 3, it's like playing hide and seek, except the seeker's a mob, and the prize is your head. You're no hero, just a shadow fleeing shadows, surviving on speed and silence. The gate looms, its iron bars a final hurdle, and your shadow flickers, as if ready to slip through without you. You wonder if this escape is the one where luck runs dry, where the city claims you. The fear of being caught, of becoming a name on a gallows sign, drives you forward. How do you outrun a world that fears you as much as it hunts you? You're still fleeing through the medieval night, heart pounding as you duck into a shadowed alley, the air thick with the musty reek of damp straw and the faint tang of wood smoke from a nearby hearth. Your shadow, that cunning companion, now skitters across the cracked cobblestones, shrinking as if it fears the mob as much as you do. It's not just guards or clients hunting you. Remember that time you smeared mud on your face to dodge a patrol's torch? Now, the whole village sees you as a curse, a demon in human skin, whispered about in terror. You're no sly trickster weaving through history's pages. You're a specter, feared as much as you fear. Superstition paints you as a monster who hexes babies or breathes death through walls. And that fear sparks mobs with torches and pitchforks. The dread of being cornered of stones flying or flames licking makes your hands shake like a leaf in a storm. How do you dodge a world that sees you as a walking plague? Let's drift into this haunted chase, your shadow trembling, wondering if you'll outrun the fire. You're not just a killer, you're a myth, a shadow man who spooks peasants and priests alike. Medieval folks, steeped in superstition, don't just fear your blade, they fear your soul. Mainstream fact, the Middle Ages, especially from the 11th to 14th centuries, were rife with beliefs in demons and witches, as seen in church records blaming mysterious deaths on supernatural causes. A noble's murder, a sudden illness, even a cow's death, folks whisper assassin and cross themselves. Your shadow, now mocking you, sprawls wide as you crouch behind a cart, its edges dancing like it's taunting your cursed name. You've learned to avoid villages after a job, but once, you lingered too long, and a woman's scream. He's the shadow man sent you bolting, heart racing as stones flew. You're pressed against a tavern wall now, the air heavy with the sour stench of spilled ale and rotting rushes. Your shadow shrinking as a lantern's glow creeps close. The locals don't just suspect you, they invent horrors. They say you shapeshift, slip through walls, or curse with a glance. A quirky tidbit, some villages believed assassins smeared toad guts on their blades under a full moon to make wounds fester. Historians still argue whether these tales were peasant paranoia or deliberate slander to justify mob justice. You've seen it firsthand, a child pointing, a priest ringing a bell. And suddenly, a crowd with pitchforks is after you. The fear of being burned, of flames searing your flesh, keeps you moving, always one step ahead of the mob's torchlight. You've learned to hide your face, to slump like a beggar, to mumble prayers to blend in. But superstition's a beast. Once, you bought herbs for a job, and the sellers whisper, "He's got the devil's eyes sent you fleeing before dawn," your shadow stretching like it was trying to escape too. You avoid churches now, their bells a call to hunt you. That time you passed a sermon and heard demon killer in the priest's rant. You ran, the dread of a mob stones heavier than your blade. Your shadow, now protective, cloaks you as you slip past a market, but it can't shield you from the terror of being named a witch. You're weaving through a village square now, the air sharp with the scent of baking bread and the faint hum of evening prayers. Your shadow mimics your frantic pace, its edges quivering like your own nerves. You've gotten good at vanishing new names, new towns, no eye contact, but every whisper's a threat. A farmer's glance, a child's stare, any could spark a cry of sorcerer you once hid in a hayloft after a job, only for a boy to spot you and scream, "Shadow Man." The mob came fast, torches blazing, and you dove into a river, the cold biting as hard as your fear of fire. Lesson, stay invisible, or burn. Joke 1, it's like being a celebrity, except the fans have torches and the autograph's your corpse. The mob's not your only fear. Guards use superstition too, pinning sketches with cursed killer scrawled beneath. You've learned to avoid holy days, feast crowds are jumpy, ready to blame you for a spilled cup. Once, a drunk blamed you for his cow's death, and the village chased you with sticks, your shadow shrinking as if ashamed. You've survived by moving at dusk, when folks are tired, or hiding in places too foul for mobs like latrines, reeking of despair. Your shadow, now your accomplice, clings tight as you near a town gate, its edges steady as if rooting for you. But the fear of a torch's flame, of a crowd's roar, never fades. Joke 2, it's like dodging a storm, except the lightning's a mob and the thunder's your doom. You've gotten clever, using superstition against itself, spreading rumors of a ghost to clear a village before a job. But it's a gamble. One wrong move, a strange herb in your pocket, a foreign accent, and you're a witch to burn. You once carried dried nightshade, and a guard shout sorcery sent you scrambling, heart pounding as torches flared. Your shadow, mimicking you again, stretches toward the gate as if eager to flee this cursed life. You wonder if this is the job where a child's cry or a priest's bell ends you. The fear of being hunted as a monster, of flames claiming you, is heavier than any coin. Joke 3, it's like hiding from a ghost story, except you're the ghost and the story ends in fire. You're no villain, just a shadow cursed by whispers, surviving on silence and speed. The gate looms, its iron a final barrier, and your shadow flickers, as if ready to vanish without you. You wonder if this escape is the one where the mob catches up, where superstition seals your fate. How do you face a queen like Olympias, whose own shadow was as feared as yours? You're still a shadow in the medieval night, heart racing as you slip past a village gate, the air heavy with the scent of damp earth and the faint hiss of a torch guttering in the mist. Your shadow, that haunted companion, now stretches long across the dirt, its edges curling like a serpent, as if it senses the power of the woman you're about to meet. You're no longer just a lone killer dodging mobs. You're stepping into the orbit of Olympias, the Serpent Queen of Macedon, whose name alone sparks whispers of divine wrath. Remember that time you hid in a latrine to escape a guard's torch? The stench your only shield Olympias would have laughed at such desperation. She wielded fear like a blade, her own shadow a myth that shook kings. She wasn't just a mother, she was a force, shaping her son, Alexander's destiny, with rituals and blood. The dread of crossing her, of facing her divine fury, makes your hands tremble. Did she really orchestrate a king's murder? Let's drift into her world, your shadow coiling, wondering if you'd survive her gaze. Olympias wasn't born to fade into the tapestries of Macedon's court. She started as Myrtle, an Epirot princess, raised among serpents and oracles, her people claiming descent from Achilles himself. Mainstream fact: Olympias, born around 375 BCE, married Philip II of Macedon in 357 BCE, a union that birthed Alexander the Great, as recorded by historians like Plutarch. Her life was steeped in mystery, sacred snakes curled in her chambers, and she danced in frenzied Dionysian rites under moonlight. You're no stranger to whispers of witchcraft, but hers were louder, sharper. She didn't just worship gods, she embodied them, her rituals a blend of devotion and dread. Your shadow, now mocking you, flickers as you imagine her eyes piercing, like they could see through your ragged cloak to the fear beneath. You're crouched by a riverbank now, the air sharp with the tang of wet reeds and the distant chant of a priestess's hymn. Your shadow shrinks, as if wary of Olympias's power. Her marriage to Philip was no love story. It was a clash of ambition and prophecy. Philip, a brutal king collecting wives like trophies, met her at a Samothrace ritual, drawn to her divine aura. But their union was rocky. His other brides, like Cleopatra Eurydice, a threat to her son's throne. Olympias fought with more than words. She used whispers, oracles, and maybe worse. You've learned to fear betrayal from clients, but Olympias was betrayal's master, her every move a calculated strike. The fear of her wrath, of being her target, would make even your hardened heart skip. Her power wasn't in swords, but in belief. She claimed Alexander was Zeus's son, a myth she spun to make him untouchable. A quirky tidbit ancient sources, like Diodorus Siculus, say she dreamed of a thunderbolt striking her womb before Alexander's birth, a tale that fueled her divine mystique. Historians still argue whether she believed this or crafted it to secure his throne. You've dodged mobs calling you a demon, but Olympias leaned into the rumors, her snakes and rites making her a living oracle. You're slipping through a forest now, the air thick with pine and the rustle of leaves, your shadow mimicking your cautious steps like it's learning her tricks. To face her, you'd need more than a dagger. You'd need to outwit a woman who turned fear into power. When Philip married Cleopatra Eurydice, a Macedonian noble, Olympias saw a threat to Alexander's future. At the wedding feast, a drunk general mocked Alexander's legitimacy, calling him a god's bastard. You've felt the sting of betrayal, but Olympias turned it into a weapon. She fled to Epirus, her homeland, not in defeat, but to plot. You've learned to vanish after a job, but she vanished to strike. Then, in 336 BCE, Philip was stabbed at his daughter's wedding, a murder that shook Macedon. Was it Olympias? No proof, but the whispers were loud. You know the risk of a client's trap, but Olympias was the trap. Her shadow darker than yours. Your shadow, now protective, cloaks you as you pause by a stream, its edges steady as if shielding you from her legacy. She didn't stop at Philip. When Alexander took the throne, Olympias ensured no rival survived. Cleopatra Eurydice and her infant were killed, some say, by Olympias's own orders. The mother hanged, the child burned. You've killed for coin, but her kills were for a dynasty. The fear of her vengeance, of her serpents and oracles, would make you rethink every job. You're edging toward a clearing now, the air sharp with the scent of whetstone and the faint hum of a distant village. Your shadow, now your accomplice, stretches toward the horizon, as if drawn to her myth. She wasn't just a queen, she was a storm, her rituals clearing Alexander's path. Joke 1, it's like hiring a killer, except the killer's a priestess and the payment's divine wrath. You've survived by being invisible, but Olympias thrived by being feared. Her enemies didn't just die, they were erased. Their names dust, you've dodged mobs, but she faced courts, wielding her son's divine birth like a blade. Your shadow, mimicking you again, quivers as you imagine her gaze, knowing one wrong move would have made you her next sacrifice. Joke 2, it's like sneaking past a guard, except the guard's a queen and her dogs are sacred snakes. You wonder if you could have survived her world, where every whisper was a weapon. The fear of crossing her, of being caught in her divine net, is heavier than any mob's torch. Joke 3, it's like playing chess with a goddess, except the board's a throne and the checkmate's your soul. You're no Olympias, just a shadow dodging pitchforks, surviving on silence and luck. Her world of prophecy and power feels as distant as a star, yet her shadow looms over you. You wonder if this job, this life, will ever let you escape the fear of being hunted. How do you wander a labyrinth like Knossos, where myths like hers were born? You're no longer dodging mobs or slipping through castle gates. You're standing on the sun-bleached stones of Crete, the air warm with the scent of olive groves and the faint hum of waves crashing miles away. Your shadow, that ghostly companion, now pulls soft and wavering beneath you, its edges blurred like it's unsure in this ancient, mythic place. You're not in a grimy alley anymore. You're at Knossos, the sprawling Minoan palace, a maze of corridors and secrets that birthed the legend of the Minotaur. Remember that time you hid in a hayloft, heart pounding as a mob's torches flared. Knossos is no less daunting, its twisting halls a puzzle that could swallow you whole. This isn't just a ruin, it's a temple, a city, a story carved in stone, where every turn whispers of gods and monsters. The fear of losing your way, of being trapped in its labyrinthine grip, makes your breath catch. Was Knossos a temple or a trap? Let's drift into its sunlit mystery. Your shadow trailing, wondering if you'll find the thread to escape. Knossos isn't just a palace, it's a world, sprawling over 150,000 square feet with 1,000 rooms, from airy courtyards to shadowed shrines. Mainstream fact built around 1900 BCE and excavated by Arthur Evans in the 1900s. Knossos was the heart of the Minoan civilization, as detailed in archaeological records. Its corridors twist, double back, and lead nowhere, disorienting even you, a master of slipping through alleys. You're wandering its halls now, the air thick with the scent of ancient dust and sea salt, your shadow shrinking as sunlight spills through light wells. The walls sing with frescoes, dolphins leaping, women dancing, bulls charging in sacred rites. Your shadow, now protective, softens as if awed by the beauty. But you feel the weight of this place, its maze-like design a silent threat to trap you. You're stepping through a colonnaded court, the stone cool under your feet, the faint echo of your steps mingling with the hum of a distant breeze. Your shadow mimics your slow pace, its edges trembling like it senses the palace's secrets. Knossos wasn't built for war, not like the castles you've crept through. No towering walls, no moats, just confidence, as if the Minoan sea power made them untouchable. But its layout is a labyrinth, not of monsters, but of purpose workshops, shrines, even flushing toilets, a marvel you'd never believe. You've dodged guards, but here, the palace itself is the guard, its twists designed to confuse. Once, you took a wrong turn in a manor and nearly ran into a servant, Here, one wrong step could lose you for hours, fear of being trapped tightening your throat. The Minotaur's myth haunts these halls. The Greeks told of a beast, half man, half bull, locked in a maze, slain by Theseus with Ariadne's thread. A quirky tidbit, Evans found bull motifs everywhere frescoes, horns on altars suggesting the Minoans revered bulls, not monsters. Historians still argue whether the labyrinth was Knossos' complex design or a metaphor for Minoan power over weaker states like Athens. You're tracing a corridor now, the air heavy with the scent of old clay and faded paint, your shadow stretching as if searching for the beast. You've dodged mobs calling you a demon, but Knossos' myth feels heavier, its halls whispering of gods and sacrifices. The fear of losing yourself here, of becoming another story, makes your pulse flicker. You're in a shrine now, the air cool with the tang of ancient offerings, your shadow pooling soft as if bowing to the snake goddesses carved in stone. These bare-breasted figures, serpents coiled around their arms, radiate power, fertility, rebirth, mystery. You've used disguises to blend in, but the Minoans wove their faith into every wall, every bull-leaping fresco. This wasn't just a palace, it was a temple, its corridors a path to the divine. Your shadow, now your accomplice, clings close as you turn another corner, its edges steady as if guiding you. But the fear of the maze of never finding the way out lingers like a quiet hum. Joke 1, it's like sneaking through a castle, except the guards are gods and the traps are eternal. The Minoans' world was vibrant, not warlike. Their art celebrates dolphins, lilies, dancers, not conquest. You're standing in a throne room now, the air thick with the scent of alabaster and griffin frescoes. Your shadow shrinking as if humbled. Their script, Linear A, remains a mystery, unreadable, leaving their prayers and laws lost. You've lived by secrets, but Knossos holds its own, its silence louder than any mob's cry. The labyrinth wasn't a prison, maybe just a sacred journey, a house of the double axe, or labyrinth, as some scholars suggest. Your shadow, mimicking you again, stretches toward a stairwell, as if drawn to the myth. Joke 2, it's like hiding from a mob, except the mob's a minotaur and the hideout's a maze. Knossos fell around 1400 BCE, its frescoes fading, its halls quiet. Was it the Theravolcano's tsunami, Mycenaean invaders' internal collapse? You've fled cities, but Knossos vanished like a dream, its story woven into Greek myths. You're stepping into a courtyard now, the air warm with the scent of time and sea, your shadow soft as if reluctant to leave. You wonder if you'd have survived this maze, where every turn feels like a riddle. The fear of being lost, of becoming a myth yourself, is heavier than any blade. Joke 3, it's like escaping a city, except the city's a temple and the exit's a legend. You're no Minoan, just a shadow dodging torches. But Knossos' mystery pulls you in. Its labyrinth looms, a puzzle of stone and stories, and your shadow flickers, as if ready to vanish into its depths. You wonder if this place, like you, was meant to be forgotten. How do you face a siege, where walls themselves are the enemy? You've left the sunlit ruins of Knossos behind, now crouching in the damp gloom of a medieval siege camp, the air thick with the acrid bite of smoke and the distant rumble of stone on stone. Your shadow, that elusive companion, now sprawls across the muddy ground, its edges jagged as if startled by the chaos around you. You're no longer dodging mobs or slipping through palace mazes. You're facing a city under siege, its walls trembling under the thunder of battering rams. Remember that time you scaled a manor wall, only to find a decoy in the bed? That was child's play compared to this. These engines of war, massive, creaking rams, smash gates like a giant's fist. Each blow a promise of destruction, the fear of being caught in their path, of walls crumbling around you, makes your breath catch like a snagged thread. Could you withstand their thunder? Let's drift into this storm of siege, your shadow quivering, wondering if you'll survive the onslaught. Battering rams aren't just logs, they're beasts of war, evolved from crude tree trunks to wheeled juggernauts. Mainstream fact by the 9th century BCE. Assyrian reliefs from Nineveh depict rams with iron tips and protective roofs, designed to smash city gates while shielding crews from arrows and boiling oil. You're skulking near a besieged city's edge now, the air heavy with the scent of burning pitch and sweat-soaked leather, your shadow shrinking as a ram's groan echoes. These machines aren't just tools, they're terror, rolling forward like gods of ruin. You've learned to slip past guards, but a ram's rhythm is relentless, its iron head pounding gates until they splinter. The fear of being trapped inside, of stone dust choking your lungs, makes your hands tremble as you watch. You're pressed against a ditch now, the mud cold and slick under your knees, the air sharp with the tang of charred wood from a nearby fire. Your shadow, now protective, cloaks you as arrows whistle overhead. Rams aren't subtle, they're loud, heavy, and terrifying. You've seen them work a gate, shudders, splinters, then collapses, guards scattering like leaves. Once, you hid near a siege, watching a ram breach a town's gate, the crash so loud it drowned your heartbeat. The defenders fought, but the ram didn't care, it just kept swinging, like your shadow mocking your own futile escapes. Lesson, stay clear, or be crushed. Joke 1, it's like dodging a runaway cart, except the cart's a tree trunk, and the driver wants you dead. The Assyrians made rams psychological weapons, parading them openly to break defenders' spirits. You've dodged mobs, but this is worse, a city's hope crumbling with each thud. A quirky tidbit, some rams were named, like Wallbreaker, etched on their frames to terrify defenders, as noted in ancient inscriptions. Historians still argue whether these names were propaganda or morale crushers for the crew. You're creeping along the camp's edge now, the air thick with the reek of oil and the faint hum of soldiers' curses, your shadow mimicking your cautious steps like it's learning the siege's rhythm. The fear of being caught in the chaos of a ram's blow trapping you in rubble makes your pulse race, as if you're the city's next victim. Rams need teamwork, unlike your lone assassin's life. Crews swing and sink, dodging arrows and stones hurled from walls. You've learned to move alone, but these men rely on each other, their rhythm a deadly dance. You once saw a ram stall when a crew faltered, arrows cutting them down like wheat. You slipped away, heart pounding, the fear of being pinned under falling stone as sharp as any blade. Your shadow, now shrinking, seems to cower with you as you duck behind a supply cart, the air heavy with the scent of wet canvas and blood. Lesson, keep moving, or the ram's thunder claims you. Joke 2, it's like joining a choir, except the song's destruction and the notes are screams. Defenders fight back with fire and stones, but rams are stubborn. You've learned to spot weak points in castles, but rams target gates and towers, their iron tips tearing through like your dagger never could. You're inching toward a siege tower's shadow now, the air sharp with the tang of pine and the distant clang of hammers. Your shadow, now your accomplice, clings tight as if urging you to flee. You've survived by vanishing. But here, there's no vanishing. Rams don't stop, don't tire. The fear of being caught in their path, of a city's walls falling on you, is heavier than any mob's torch. You wonder if you'd have the nerve to face such a machine, or if you'd break like the gates. The ram's thud is a heartbeat of doom, each strike shaking the ground under you. You've dodged betrayal, but this is betrayal of stone walls that promised safety, now crumbling. Your shadow, mimicking you again, stretches toward the city, as if drawn to its fall. You've learned to run from danger, but a ram's power feels like fate, unstoppable. Joke 3, it's like hiding from a storm, except the storm's a ram and the rain's a hail of stone. You wonder if this siege, This thunder could crush even your fleeting shadow. How do you face catapults and trebuchets, whose reach breaks not just walls, but spirits? You're still crouched in the chaos of a medieval siege camp, the air thick with the bitter sting of burning pitch and the distant groan of straining ropes. Your shadow, that ever-shifting companion, now arches across the muddy ground, its edges wavering like it's bracing for the sky to fall. You've dodged the thunder of battering rams, but now you face something grander: catapults and trebuchets, machines that hurl death from afar, turning walls to rubble and spirits to dust. Remember that time you fumbled a poison dose, nearly retching yourself into a ditch that was a personal failure. These engines make entire cities tremble. They don't just break stone, they break hope. Their payload's a message of doom. The fear of being caught in their arc, of a boulder crushing you or a city's will, makes your breath catch like a snag cloak. How do these machines shatter both walls and spirits? Let's drift into this storm of siege, your shadow flickering, wondering if you'll outlast the flying stones. Catapults aren't just weapons, they're spectacles, launching stones, bolts, or worse, with a precision that feels like magic. Mainstream fact by the 4th century BCE. Greek engineers under Dionysius of Syracuse developed torsion catapults, using twisted sinew to hurl projectiles hundreds of meters, as described in ancient texts like Diodorus Siculus. You're skulking near a siege line now, the air heavy with the scent of damp wood and sweat, your shadow shrinking as a catapult's arm creaks upward. These machines' ballistas for bolts, catapults for stones aren't like your rusty dagger. They're precise, deadly, flinging boulders to smash gates or flaming pitch to burn morale. You've dodged guards, but a catapult's reach is merciless, its stones screaming through the sky. The fear of one landing on you, turning you to pulp, keeps your heart racing. You're pressed against a supply cart now, the air sharp with the tang of tar and the faint hum of soldiers' murmurs, your shadow pooling soft as if hiding from the chaos. Catapults don't just destroy, they terrify. You've seen a city's defenders flinch as a 60-pound stone crashes into a tower, dust choking the air. Once, you watched a ballista fire a bolt through a gate, pinning a guard like a bug. The crowd screams louder than your own pounding pulse. Your shadow, now mocking you, stretches wide as you duck a flying splinter, its edges laughing at your frail cover. Lesson: stay low, move fast. Joke 1, it's like dodging a tantrum, except the toddler's a machine and the toys are boulders. Trebuchets are even grander, their towering frames a medieval nightmare. Unlike catapults, they use gravity, a counterweight dropping to sling massive stones in a high, graceful arc, a quirky tidbit during the 1304 siege of Stirling Castle. The trebuchet warwolf was so fearsome that defenders tried to surrender before it fired. As recounted in Scottish chronicles, historians still argue whether trebuchets were more psychological than practical, their slow reloads a trade-off for terror. You're creeping along a ditch now, the air thick with the scent of wet earth and oil, your shadow mimicking your crouch like it's learning the siege's rhythm. A trebuchet's arm swings, and a boulder soars, crashing into a courtyard, shattering both stone and spirit. The fear of that arc of being caught in its path makes your hands tremble. These machines don't just hurl stones, they hurl dread. Generals launch severed heads or diseased corpses over walls, spreading panic and plague. You've dodged betrayal. But this is betrayal of hope cities crumble, not just from force, but from despair. You once saw a catapult lob a rotting cow into a town, the stench sparking chaos as defenders fled. Your shadow, now protective, cloaks you as you slip past a siege tower, its edges steady as if shielding you from the horror. You've learned to stay clear of walls, to move at night when engines rest, but the fear of a stray shot, of a city's scream becoming yours, never fades. Joke 2. It's like avoiding a snowball fight, except the snow's a rock and the game's your life. You're edging toward a camp's edge now, the air sharp with the scent of pine and the distant creak of a trebuchet's winch. Your shadow, shrinking again, seems to cower with you as a stone arcs overhead, its thud shaking the ground. You've survived by being invisible, but these machines don't care about stealth. They see all, hit all. You've learned to spot their aim, to dodge their range. But luck's your true ally. That time, a boulder missed you by a foot, landing in a ditch as you dove aside pure chance. Your shadow, now your accomplice, clings tight as you weave through tents, its edges quivering like your own nerves. The fear of being crushed, of a city's fate becoming yours, is heavier than any blade. These engines rewrite war. Romans perfected catapults, making them portable. Trebuchets, born in the 12th century, made walls obsolete. You've dodged mobs. But these machines are a mob of their own, relentless and unyielding. Your shadow, mimicking you again, stretches toward the city, as if drawn to its fall. You wonder if you'd have the nerve to face such power, or if you'd break like the walls. Joke 3, it's like hiding from a bully, except the bully's a trebuchet and the punch is a 300-pound stone. You're no siege warrior, just a shadow-dodging ruin, surviving on whispers and luck. How does this legacy of siege echo in a world beyond stone and fire? You're no longer dodging the thunder of trebuchets or weaving through Knossos' ancient maze. You're standing in the quiet hush of a modern night, the air soft with the scent of rain-damp leaves and the gentle hum of a distant street lamp. Your shadow, that faithful companion through all these tales, now rests softly at your feet, its edges blurred, as if it's ready to fade into the calm of sleep. You've outrun mobs, slipped past betrayals, and marveled at siege engines that broke cities. But now you trace their echoes in a world far beyond medieval stone. Remember that time you fled a city, hounds baying as you dove into a ditch, your heart pounding with the fear of capture. That desperate sprint lives on in modern sieges, digital, silent, yet just as relentless. The fear of being trapped, of losing yourself to a world that never stops hunting, lingers like a whisper in your mind. What echoes of assassins linger today in a world of code and steel? Let's drift gently into this final tale, your shadow softening, ready to guide you into dreams. The legacy of siege warfare isn't locked in dusty ruins. It breathes in today's world, reshaped but unmistakable. Mainstream fact, the principles of medieval siege engines, catapults, trebuchets evolved into modern artillery, with cannons by the 15th century, rendering stone walls obsolete, as seen in the 1453 fall of Constantinople to Ottoman guns. You're wandering a quiet street now, the air warm with the scent of wet pavement and distant car exhaust, your shadow pooling like a memory of those ancient machines. Drones hum overhead, missiles arc across skies, same physics, same terror, just faster. You've dodged a noble's guards, but today's sieges are digital firewalls instead of stone, cyber attacks blockading cities without a sound. The fear of being cornered, of a silent strike you can't see, feels as old as your assassin's dread. You're pausing by a lamplit corner, the air soft with the murmur of night and the faint rustle of leaves, your shadow shrinking as if it's ready to rest. Siege tactics were never just about breaking walls, they broke spirits, sowing despair with every boulder's crash. Today, that psychological edge lives on shock and awe, overwhelming force meant to shatter resolve before a shot's fired. You've felt the weight of a mob's torchlight, but modern sieges use media blackouts, propaganda, fear spread through screens. A quirky tidbit, Mongol trebuchets once hurled plague-ridden corpses to spark panic. A tactic echoed in modern cyber warfare's data leaks to destabilize nations. Historians still argue whether ancient sieges shape today's strategies or merely reflect human nature's knack for breaking others. Your shadow, now protective, clings gently, as if shielding you from the weight of these truths. The assassin's life, your life echoes too. You've lived as a ghost, trusting no one, your every step a gamble with death. Today's spies and hackers carry your shadow, moving unseen, striking silently, always running. You're standing by a quiet park now, the air thick with the scent of grass and the soft hum of crickets, your shadow mimicking your stillness like it's ready to fade. The tools have changed daggers to drones, poison to code, but the loneliness, the fear of being caught, remains. You've dodged betrayal, but modern shadows face surveillance, their every click a potential noose. Your shadow, now your accomplice, stretches softly, as if linking you to these distant airs. Joke 1, it's like sneaking past a guard, except the guard's a camera and the castle's the cloud. Siege warfare taught the world to break what's unbreakable, from stone walls to human will. You've outrun mobs, but today's battles trap entire cities, blockades of power, data, hope. You're drifting through a misty street now, the air cool with the tang of rain and the faint glow of a streetlight, your shadow fading as if it knows the end is near. The principles of tension, trajectory, fear, they're alive in every missile, every hack. You've survived by vanishing, but modern sieges leave no place to hide. Joke 2, it's like dodging a trebuchet, except the boulder's a data breach and the walls your life. Your shadow, shrinking again, seems to sigh, as if it's ready to let you go. You're no ancient assassin, no siege survivor, just a shadow in a world where walls still fall, where betrayal still stings. The fear of being trapped, of a world closing in, is as old as Knossos, as new as tomorrow. Your shadow, now barely a whisper, pools at your feet, ready to drift into dreams. Joke 3, it's like running from a mob, except the mob's the future and the escape is sleep. As the night deepens, the air grows softer, the hum of the world fading into a gentle, lulling whisper, like a breeze through ancient ruins. Your shadow, that companion through alleys and sieges, now melts into the darkness, its edges dissolving as if it's finally at rest, ready to cradle you into sleep. You've wandered through medieval terrors, felt the weight of daggers and rams. But now it's time to let those echoes fade, to let the quiet wrap you like a warm blanket. The fear, the chase, the thunder, they're just stories now, drifting away like mist over a forgotten city. Can you still hear the creak of a trebuchet, or is it just the hum of your fan? Do you remember Olympias' serpents, or the assassin's lonely run? Let these questions linger softly. Did Knossos hide a minotaur, or was its maze the real monster? Did you dodge the mob's torches, or are they just stars now, twinkling above? Sink deeper. Let your breath slow, and let the night carry you gently into dreams, where shadows no longer chase you.